If all of you supported this business, how come the business still fail? In many other countries, do the government actively look at their businesses and be like, okay, y'all can do better?
The market size in Singapore is limited and we really don't know what the next step is.
There are partners that we can link you up with to then help you to...
That is so inspiring.
This is Dan's last 10 episode in this company.
We have a startup. They are an agri-fintech.
What is agri-fintech?
Money now grows on trees.
Well...
So I'm sure many of you have seen the news. There are a lot of local businesses, some very close to our hearts, that have closed down. Many people are wondering, should the government have stepped in to help? Then there are some parts of me that also wonder, if all of you supported this business, how come the business still fail? So today we have with us our guest. She is the Assistant Managing Director for Services and Growth Enterprises at Enterprise Singapore with over 20 years of experience in business development and tourism. Please welcome Jeannie!
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome. So for many people wondering, let's get this out of the way first. What exactly is the role of Enterprise Singapore?
So we are a government agency and we really champion enterprise development. So we help local businesses to grow new capabilities. We help them to invest in innovation and we help them to grow, not just in Singapore, but to grow globally.
So when you say you help local businesses
Yes.
to grow, like in what sense is it? For example, at some point, do y'all come and knock our door and say, oh, you need more innovation. Here's some innovation. What does that look like?
Yeah, it could be. We look at supporting startups. We look at companies that are just starting. We look at their growth journey and then all the way for when they start to mature as a business. Then we look at how then they go through different business transformations, how they need to invest in new business models. They need to invest in R&D and innovation, coming up with new products and services or entering new markets until they're a mature business. And then sometimes, when companies fail, businesses don't succeed, we look at then we're now starting to see how we help them to transit as well.
Right. Is Enterprise Singapore a very Singapore thing? In many other countries, do the government actively look at their businesses and be like, okay, y'all can do better?
Yeah, so actually the interesting thing, you've raised a good point. A lot of the companies that we work with actually tell us when they, and even foreign companies, right? When they go into other countries, actually they don't see similar support from the government.
Right.
A lot of them are left on their own to thrive and survive or not. But in Singapore, I think we want to make sure that we are pro-enterprise. It's a strong pillar of our economy in terms of growing our enterprises. It creates a lot of jobs for Singaporeans. So we want to make sure that we are there to support the economy and the industry as much as possible.
The term that's being used is support, and I think a lot of people immediately think money or like grants. Is that the case, or is it more
part
than
of the support, but you'd be surprised.
I'd be damn disappointed if it's not part of the support.
Yeah.
But if you need advice, then I'm like, okay, thanks.
Hey, don't undervalue advice.
I'm not sure,
Time, actually, that could be a lot more valuable than just pure funding, right? I think it's very hard to start a business just purely relying on government funding. Government funding might help you to sort of de-risk some of the decisions that you make or a new business venture or a new market that you're going into, but it's not going to sustain your business to profitability.
Yeah.
So actually advise bringing the network, bringing the community together. A lot of that actually businesses find a lot more valuable in growing businesses.
Okay, so my understanding is that, for example, there's a local brand, Castlery. We had one of our colleagues that used to be, I think they're employee number 1 or number 2.
Wow.
Yeah. And I understand that Enterprise Singapore play a good role in helping Castlery expand.
Yeah.
Can you help me? Can you use them as a case study?
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Help me understand
Happy to.
how can I tap on Enterprise Singapore?
Yeah.
So Castlery last year, they celebrated their 10-year anniversary.
Oh,
so they've been around for that long. They started off, in furniture. It's a traditional industry, but they started off being a digital first company for furniture.
Yeah.
So some of the ways that we've helped them, they join a program that we have called Scale Up, where we help companies really look at the business scaling up and what should be the business strategy for how they scale and where they scale. Back in, I think sometime in 2017 or so, when they were looking to first enter Australia, then they started to enter in with both online as well as a physical store. And they decided to bring in all the furniture range that they had in Singapore to Australia. But they learned quickly enough that actually the same products don't always work in a new market.
Right.
And so in the end, they had to close the physical store and be online only. Then after joining us, we kind of then worked through with them to say, okay, they were looking to enter the US in 2019. So we worked with them to identify who are their customers in the US, who would be buying furniture, the type of furniture that they can offer.
So what do you all offer when you say you all work with them?
So we work with them to better understand the consumer demographics. It could be feasibility studies. You can be customer insights. How do you do focus groups? How do you understand who your target audience is and what they're looking for, right? So know your customers, basically.
And there's like, for example, a report you help produce for them?
Yeah, so it could be a report.
Wow.
It could be doing market studies. It could be working with consultants to help you better understand your market segments.
So Enterprise Singapore produces this.
So we support with partners to help them to produce some of these insights.
Wow.
So then they actually customize certain furniture product range to enter the US. And so that helped them to be very successful. We worked with them to look at where they should be establishing their regional distribution centers. No one wants to order furniture and then wait, you know, a long time for the shipment to come in. So look at their supply chain. And then from there, they then started looking at Australia again, right? Where should they be? So they were online only. And then over the last recent years, they've actually now set up physical presence. So we help them to link them up with partners now with the track record. And then how do you go in using the US success story, better understand your customers and look at then where you should be setting up your physical retail store and what kind of furniture you should be having there. They're going to be launching their first pop-up store in the UK. So this is their first foray in London. So we're very happy for them and we wish them every success. And a pop-up is a good way to sort of understand as well, test the market before you really plonk down and invest in paying rent for a full retail space.
So I also co-own another business. In fact, the bottle is right here. We do Southland vodka. We're a local business that do Southland vodka, and we are interested in expanding overseas.
I think you were at boutiques.
We were.
Yes. I bought a bottle.
Oh, thank you so much.
Good.
I'll send more. Shit, thanks so much.
Say that. She's a
Flying the, dude.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No kids accepted.
And
We will sell you more.
Yes,
we will sell you more.
At regular retail price, no discount.
Yes.
I think the next step for us is like how can we expand, because like you mentioned the market size in Singapore is limited, but we literally don't really know where to start, right? So we can speak, we have spoken to certain potential partners on the ground in like Malaysia, Australia, but there's just so many steps and red tapes and we really don't know what the next step is. And I've just realized as we're conversing, I can actually go to Enterprise Singapore.
Yeah, absolutely.
What does that practically look like?
First things first is to sort of say, actually, where's your production facility, right? Does it make sense to hold it in Singapore? Actually, now with the Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone, we are looking at what are opportunities in Johor. So for example, if the manufacturing cost is lower there, if labor is cheaper there, we're supporting some of our food manufacturing companies to look at what of their supply chain manufacturing actually that makes sense to site in Malaysia versus in Singapore to optimize the cost and processes and labor. Then once you optimize your production, you want to look at then where's the market. So where's the market for this vodka? Which markets actually consume vodka for the flavors that you would have. And then we're happy to then work with you to then look at some market feasibilities, better understand the consumer demographics, the consumption patterns, and then look at how you should then launch. Do you look at distribution channels?
Yeah.
Who do you work through liquor stores? Do you work through the supermarkets? Who do you look at for your distribution channels? So we also have a lot of the different trade shows that we also support our companies to take part in.
Okay.
So sometimes before entering a market, a trade show is sort of a sort of good foot in a market. So you better understand the consumer dynamics. You meet some potential trade buyers, and maybe even sign a deal.
Okay.
I'm sure,
I will follow up after this.
We never asked Enterprise Singapore for any assistance. So I'm not very sure also in that sense. But we could always see Enterprise Singapore's efforts. It always feels like I am not struggling enough that you will come and say, I think you need help. Neither am I big enough to feel like, I think we should export your company. So we're just like in a place looking around like,
So I think Enterprise Singapore is there to support businesses whichever stage of the journey that they're in, right? It's for wherever your business is growing, whether small or big, or whether it's in Singapore or growing globally. Sometimes, the other thing we can help you with is we support certain R&D facilities. So for example, food plant. So they look at small batch processing. I think they've worked with some beverage beverage companies, when you're looking at changing your flavors, they can then help you to then look at small batch processing of that. Sometimes the facilities they have also look into packaging. They have a retort facility to look at then how they can increase shelf life of different food products.
Wow.
So from shelf life, from taste, from packaging.
Okay.
There are partners that we can link you up with to then help you to improve on your product to make it relevant for the market that you want to go into.
That is so inspiring.
This is Dan's last 10 episode in this company.
I have never been so excited to go for a laptop. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so everybody at this table has had experience building, supporting, and growing business from the ground up, right? I'm the only person here who doesn't have that. I've always been an employee of something.
No, you're part of helping us grow
So
this
you're
company.
working in a business.
No, yes, but not like, okay, you know what I mean. I'm the gotcha guy. I can't believe someone's gotchaing me. That's crazy. That's wild to me. And something I've always wondered is, how does a government arm, whether it be Enterprise Singapore or another one, decide which one is worthy of that help and support, whether it be money or consultancy help, and in whatever way? To me, if I, as just a regular guy, not, the other side of the lens, I'm like, who needs more help? Is it the people who are trying to achieve something that is very necessary in the social utility way? Or is it the guy starting up Singapore's 800th AI company? I'm creating another wrapper for ChatGPT to make you a chatbot, and I'll try and build a business out of that.
Could be the one that built the next ChatGPT.
Maybe 874 is the one that works. Yes. So how do you guys decide who's worthy?
Okay, so we have some schemes that actually are available for all companies to go and be able to tap on, and that will just sort of get you started. Beyond that, then you're right, it becomes a lot more qualitative, and at some point it's about then making a judgment call. So for example, now we DPM Gunn is heading up our new economic strategy review, and the whole purpose of that is to then say, okay, what's the next phase of economic growth for Singapore? What are some new growth areas, new growth opportunities? It could be from an industry perspective. So currently a lot of the new sectors that we're looking at could be the green economy, looking at climate resilient solutions. We're looking at the next phase of digitalization. We're looking at how to strengthen Singapore as a hub for trade flows. So what makes sense for that?
Right.
Right. And then what support is needed. So it needs to
direction.
fit into a broader economic strategy that we have for Singapore that we think will keep us competitive and relevant in the global world order.
There are two schools on this, right? Where people think that Singapore is the world's easiest place to do business because of connectivity, because the rules are the rules. There is no buy left. So you kind of know the sandbox. I say this from experience because in trying to build GRVTY Media, Philippines, you follow the rules also wrong. So that was a bit challenging for me. Like many people then argue that Singapore is probably the most business friendly place. Yet at the same time, there are also people saying that Singapore has no market. Or rather, very low threshold for originality or disruption. So in your words, right, personally, is Singapore a good place to do business?
So Singapore is a good place to do business, and I think that's been.
I don't ask that question. Is Singapore a difficult place to do business?
So if I try and unpack that question, Singapore is an easy place to do business. It's very easy to start up a business and start running, but is it easy to sustain and grow the business? So then that's where the challenges start to come in. The most limiting factor would probably be our market size. In Singapore, maybe because it's of the ease of doing business, you get very used to a very structured process. You get used to the kind of support environment. So sometimes the challenge that small and medium enterprises face then when they start going overseas is that it's a whole different market out there. It's not as rules-based. There's no clear structured process. So how to navigate? And that's actually where we have boots on the ground. Today we have over 30 overseas centers that really then help to hold the hand of Singapore companies when they're first entering a market.
Do you have an office in the Philippines?
Yes, of course.
See, this episode just 3 years too late. That's crazy to me. There's a civil servant that will tell me that. Okay, maybe I paint you what happened. Okay. What happened was that we started GRVTY Philippines
2019.
Okay, pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID.
So we had no problems growing the media brands. In fact, it was super fast. We started growing it from Singapore, targeted at their audience, and then we hit 7-figure views super quickly.
Okay.
And so we decided, okay, let's make the move and try and capture revenue now, because so far we haven't made a dime yet. And so we went over, we started an office, we hired a bunch of super talented people. If you're watching this, thank you for being part of GRVTY Philippines. We had our office and then everything was doing well. But then every week there was an officer that would come and ask for hygiene money or hygiene license, a hygiene fee, which I think it's legit. Which I actually think is legit, but we're not sure. So we paid because it's like a couple $100 USD, that kind.
Plus we thought it was above board, like hygiene fee.
Sure. Maybe you clean the building. I don't know.
Sure.
So then next week again. And then no for 2 weeks. And then next month again.
Oh, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Then no, it's completely inconsistent.
Yeah.
Then we're like, who do we call? Because this is not building management, right? So do you complain to building management? Is that going to be a problem? Or like, do we whistle blow? Then is that going to be a problem? Then because the initial batch of employees were like 5 girls or like 3 girls and 1 guy.
Also, will
And
anyone
they're all
care?
super young. They're like 21. So it's
Yeah.
like, are they safe? We don't know what to do. And then we thought, okay, if this is the way of life there, then sure, we'll do whatever it takes to operate.
Yeah.
And then the girls call us and say they don't feel safe because they are coming every week now. Then we're like, oh. Then actually, that's the key reason, because we haven't made much money at that point of time.
So you decided to
We decided to just shut down and come back, because unless I'm prepared to be based there for a few years. So
You
I
know,
find it insane if I can call Enterprise Singapore also pay the bribe.
So we have an office. No. I mean, so we have an office in Manila. We would probably advise you to say, okay, these are the channels that you can go to refer to see if it's a legitimate payment, or these are some contacts that you can have, or do you need legal assistance? So you know, there's a referral.
There's someone to go to.
Yeah, the other very helpful thing that we find is sometimes what we call hunting in a pack. Several Singapore companies come together to navigate these market challenges, enter these new markets together. Then there's strength in numbers, right?
Yeah.
And then you can sort of rely on each other to counter check,
Yeah.
sort of say, what's your
Is hygiene fees
experience?
real?
Yeah.
Like, do you guys also get hygiene fee?
Can I move to your building then?
Or you can look at building efficiencies, right? How you can leverage each other, do partnerships together.
And Enterprise Singapore does the matchmaking.
Yeah, so we actually work with a lot of our trade association and chambers to also organize business missions. So for example, next month I'm going to Africa.
Oh,
and I'm bringing
nice.
Why not just
a
so fun
group of
though?
companies. If you're looking to
Awesome.
set up GRVTY in Nigeria and
Right.
Johannesburg, you're welcome to join me on the trip.
Yeah.
Having worked with many entrepreneurs or many SMEs, right? There must be a pattern of common pitfalls. Especially for the ones within their first 5 years. I don't know why this 5-year number is a thing to survive 5 years. But what are some common pitfalls that many small businesses make?
One very common pitfall that we see is that people may not have a very clear business model in mind, or they start off having a big ambition and then they take 2 bold steps rather than having a big ambition and then having calculated risk.
Right.
So there's different spectrums of that. Some companies, on the other hand, actually don't have a large enough ambition. They sort of say they want to start small, see how it grows, and then think they want to grow organically from there. But that's actually very inefficient, because you set things up in a very inefficient manner. You set things up as a small business. Then by the time you're ready to grow big, your systems and legacies in place make it very inefficient to then grow at speed, grow at scale.
Right.
So those are, I
feel
would
like
say,
that's
some
us.
of the common pitfalls.
Yeah.
So you need to have a big ambition, take calculated risk, but you need to plan for scale. So you start small, but you plan for scale.
What are the similarities and differences in supporting, smaller enterprises and then larger enterprises?
That's a good question, because I have a portfolio of a team that looks at heartland enterprises. So they're very small. A lot of them are mom and pop shops, and they're very different needs. And then I have another team that actually looks after our Singapore global enterprises. So a lot of them are multi-billion-dollar businesses. A lot of them have actually their revenues coming more from outside Singapore than from within Singapore. And some of them are even category leaders. So companies like PSA, they're one of the top port operators in the world, SATS, so on and so forth, ST Engineering. So they are definitely very established in their fields. Some of the challenges that remain are, always, how do you look at operational efficiencies? How do you look at continued product and service innovation? But then different, I guess, where the differences come in, I think the smaller companies tend to be very domestic facing. So they are faced with domestic issues.
Okay.
How are they relevant to the consumers in the local market? Once you're global, then you have very different issues. Like how do you access regulatory or trade barriers? How do you look at speed to market? How do you then structure your supply chains in a cost optimized way? How do you look at capturing new demand? How do you look at investing in innovation so that you're always ahead of the market?
So when Trump announced the tariffs for the first time, right?
Liberation Day.
Was there a crazy amount of outreach that y'all had to do on that day to start preparing local Singaporeans? Or was it, let's ramp up resources because many businesses are going to call us now?
No, so we can't ramp up resources just like that. It doesn't happen overnight. So it's the first former that you said. So we really had to do reach out, and that's why we formed the Singapore Economic Resilience Task Force. So the key objective of that was really to
Singaporean to do this.
Yes. And so the key point of the task force was really to engage businesses, right? Try and find out how does it impact them, what are their plans, how do we help them to pivot and navigate. Actually in initial days, a lot of companies were, wait and see because it's so volatile, not sure what's happening. But now it's so many months in, and we're saying, actually, you can't afford to just wait and see anymore, right? Because by the time things actually happen, your competitors will be ahead of you. So actually, how do you take action now, and what kind of action should you be taking? And so that's where we come in to say, okay, we have a business adaptation grant. How do they restructure supply chains for resiliency? How do they look at sourcing new, where they get their supplies from? How do they look at new market opportunities? If the US is going to be impacted, what new markets can they? So Castlery is a good example, even though US was a big market for them, and we're still helping them to navigate that. But fortunately, they have then now established in Australia, and now they're starting in the UK. So you have some market diversification.
Actually, when you say tariff, right, like that reminds me, right, like what is a mom and pop? What's a heartland business going to do, right? When and how can Enterprise SG even help them when such a massive, out of control, none of us have any ability to counter this kind of thing happens. Sure. Yeah, and in the past few months, quite a few heartland businesses that we worked with have just gone, and very unfortunate, they can't control these things. It's beyond their supply chains are completely impacted. And what can Enterprise SG do in such a trade wind?
Yeah, so for the heartland businesses, I think what we're trying to help them do is to see how do we help them to drive footfall to the shops. A lot of them are very much still relying on physical footfall. So we have different initiatives to drive vibrancy, to drive relevancy. But then beyond just physical footfall and the domestic markets, we're also supporting a lot of them to grow global. They may not be big enough to grow global physically, but how do they access e-commerce? How do they put their products and services on e-commerce so that then you open your market beyond just people staying in that heartland precinct? Yeah, so that's a lot of what we're helping them to do as well.
Okay, and beyond, so I think before I asked, like, what's the differences between the challenges of like small and big? How is it like across different sectors? Like Agritech, food, retail. How does that differ as well?
So, for example, in the food, one company that we've been working with is Udders. I don't know whether you know Udders, the ice cream. Yeah, you love. Yeah, Ma Shang Wang, if you've tried. Yeah. So basically, this is a company that we've supported through many different phases as well. They went from local retail to then doing wholesale as business started to grow. And then as they started to then grow wholesale, we worked with them to then supporting the setup of a central kitchen. And then as business still continued to grow, they were entering different markets. Then we say, okay, actually now, because given the manpower challenges, how do you look at automating your central kitchen so that you can then increase production without necessarily increasing costs? So how do you look at using automation technologies to do that? And we also help them to enter new markets. So today they are not just having their own retail stores in Singapore. They're already a wholesaler to airlines, to supermarkets, not just in Singapore, but in the region and overseas as well.
I was really pleasantly surprised. I took a flight. I was like, Udders. Ice cream. I was like, oh, fantastic.
John said you love, but then I don't know when the last time you ate ice cream.
He's on a diet.
My wife always buys it.
Please support our local F&B.
No, he's on a diet. Supporting local business directly counters his diet.
not the Padang store yesterday. If we look at recent news, right, in food services or retail, we are seeing a lot of the shutdowns. We are seeing a lot of business difficulties. So for example, we're looking at landlords raising rent, or even in the hawker situation, people still complain that the $1,000 or the any A1 hawker centers are too expensive, for example. How much of that can Enterprise Singapore actually help? Like, what are the challenges that you all can help with, if not that?
Actually, in F&B and retail, the majority, 90% of the businesses in Singapore are micro enterprises. The barriers to entry are actually quite low. So to start an F&B business actually is a lot of people's dream, whether you are a fresh grad or you're a new entrepreneur, or whether you're an established professional that's looking to get out of your line and start something, F&B usually comes to mind. And so because it's so saturated, and it's a domestic economy, and we have a fixed population, right? And of course, we have some tourism. And so it becomes very challenging in today's operating climate. And so there's a natural churn that you see. How much of that is healthy versus unhealthy? I think we continue to monitor that closely. But we want to make sure that businesses remain relevant, and we try and help them to manage costs. So for example, what we're supporting is to help to matchmake some of the smaller outlets with some F&B companies that have central kitchens with excess capacity. So how can they then start helping you to process your food so that you don't have to start everything from scratch within your little outlet, right? Then you don't need someone to be chopping vegetables at the back. You can just get that from a supplier. So we're trying to see how we can sort of aggregate certain services, because if the micro enterprises doesn't have economies of scale, we need to do that at a systems level. So how can we structure that in a more concerted manner across the whole sector?
And then with that, you can link to the Agritech folks. And then to help another sector as well.
Yeah. And so Agritech is very interesting, because you would sort of say, actually, we are not an agriculture nation. But actually, it's a growing segment, and we have a lot of companies that are interested in this space, because food security and climate change are big problems facing farmers, facing countries around the region. And so that is the growth opportunity for our companies. So even though we are not a large farming nation, we have been working very closely with companies to look at resilient food solutions. So they could be Agritech solutions that work with smallholder farms in the region to then look at having better crop yields, lesser pesticides. How do you deal with climate change? How do you look at environment, climate control environments to then still ensure there's food supply and there's healthy food supply for that market? We have a startup, for example, that we've worked with called Agritech.
Nice.
So they are an agri-fintech platform.
Agri-fintech. I'm sorry, what is agri-fintech? I want to ask you what Agritech was, but now we got the agri-fintech.
Yeah.
Please tell me.
all the
They make money grants,
buzzwords. Well,
money now grows on trees.
yeah, they're helping to make money grow on plants. So they have come up with a sort of a gamified platform looking at farm management for smallholder farms. So for example, in Vietnam, a lot of these farmers can't get access to financing just because they're smallholder farms. But through onboarding with the platforms, they're able to then have a more, consistent information that they can provide to the lenders in terms of the supply of the crops, the health of the crops that they're providing. So with the data that is collected by Agritech, they can then go out to raise financing and do loan origination and provide credit worthiness for the smallholder farm.
No, now I know why the name is so good. Because that's really what they're doing.
That's exactly what they're doing.
So that's in the regional space. But what about in Singapore? Like when I think agriculture in Singapore, I'm thinking a small hydroponics primary 5 farm that they build on top of school. That's my limitation of it. Like, is there more? Can you tell me more? Like, I want to know.
There's many different types. I think when we look at our own food security, a lot of our food today is still imported. So Singapore Food Agency, or SFA, does look at that. So for example, we look at not just the current farming methods. I think one project that we're supporting out is also novel sustainable proteins. So for example, I don't know if you know the Bezos Earth Fund, started by Jeff Bezos. So we actually worked with other agencies, the EDB, with SFA, as well as with NUS, and we actually managed to pitch to secure the Bezos Earth Fund to set up a Bezos Center here for sustainable proteins at NUS. So we managed to secure that last year. So this year, actually, what we did with the Bezos Center at NUS is to launch a competition for startups into sustainable proteins. So it could be looking at new processes of extraction. How do you look at plant-based protein? How do you look at alternative sources of protein? And so that helps towards future food security as well.
Right. I mean, the alternative, I assume, is the bugs.
It could be insects, but it could be plant-based meat. Yeah.
That's how serious this food shortage is. We're looking at kids like, okay, maybe we can eat.
the little block of gelatinous protein.
Have you tried it?
The bugs?
Yeah.
In like Thailand on a street market one time, but
But it's available now. Like you can find like
you
packet.
can.
I'll wait till we really run out of cows, then I'll move to the.
Do your part for the environment.
You gotta get in the bugs now so that there will be enough cow for the rest of us.
This again is market forces.
Why me?
Market forces.
Bro, you consume a lot of bugs, bro.
Your protein shake, how much protein you're consuming every day or not?
The cow does not die by the protein shake.
So like quite a lot of the examples that we've been talking about is actually F&B. Another consumer facing industry or sector is of course retail. Like what are some initiatives that Enterprise Singapore is doing to help?
Yeah, so for retail today, because it's been disrupted because of e-commerce, a lot of people are shopping online. I know a lot of Singaporeans have been going overseas to shop once the borders reopen post-COVID. So we've been pushing our retail businesses in Singapore to really say, how do you drive experiential retail? So you still get people shopping in your stores. So a concept that we're very proud of is New Baru. So we work very closely with Low and Behold.
What is it about New Baru that everybody goes,
It's so charming.
It is, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, it's an old school, the old Nan Chiao school, and they've really turned it into a very lively place. So we looked at how we supported experiential brands there. So some of the brands we supported, for example, Morning Coffee, they were only online.
Yeah,
this is the very first physical retaal store. So it allows them that engagement direct with customers, right?
Yeah.
Beyond just being online and ordering your coffee now, they can go into coffee machines, they can go into coffee pairings. We also supported a children's retail fashion store, Sea Apple, in a very experiential format. Beyond the Vines also has a flagship store there. Yeah. So we're very happy at how we are working with our local brands to have experiential concepts.
What actually makes it experiential?
If I may, as someone who has been to New Baru many times, so I've been to other outlets of Sea Apple, for example, and I love Sea Apple, but the New Baru one is the only place that you can customize, like, so you can actually buy, like, what they did for a short period of time was that you can buy a jelly cat and then you can actually put letters to customize.
You can put your name. So Beyond the Vines, likewise as well. And there's a lot of, for example, there's a jewelry shop where you can then do customization. There's a leather shop where you can make your own products. So that's what we mean by experiential. You don't just walk in and buy a product that you can buy off the shelf or you can buy online. But when you come into the store, what's the experience that you get that's different that you can't get online?
And the curation is so good. Like Soil Boy next to Sojao, next to Sea Apple, next to like...
That's the plant store, right?
Yes,
it's so gorgeous.
It's very
so
aesthetic,
gorgeous,
right?
actually gorgeous.
There's like a $3,000 bonsai, right? And I've never considered paying anything $3,000, and I actually I said that when
But you
do I
feel like
need
you
a
want to
bonsai?
listen like that.
It's really beautiful.
We shared a lot about how we can help businesses at our size or clumsy size, right? But I think just now earlier in the conversation, you also mentioned that Enterprise Singapore partners like ST Engineering, for example, super high growth companies. What do you actually do for them? What can you do for them?
Yeah, so you're right. They're very successful. I don't know whether you know this, but do you know that they're the sole provider for the floors of the plane, the aircraft planes that you go into?
What?
So today they're in aerospace, they're in defense and satellite. They're also very much in urban solutions and smart city solutions. So for example, one project that we facilitated for them was the first foray into Qatar. We linked them up with a partner there.
Sorry, this is ST Engineering.
ST Engineering. And they actually then clinched a deal to then develop their smart city management in Lusail in Qatar.
Oh, wow.
So we're very happy to have facilitated that, and we continue to look at how we can help them to continue to expand. They also have a company that they've acquired in the US called Transcore. So a lot of the toll systems that you see in the US, that's all part of ST Engineering as well.
Ooh.
Then do you all get commission for brokering that?
No.
Is it like I see you succeed happy, you're good enough for me?
We don't know. We're a government agency. Actually, a lot of what we do is advocacy. So we come in very much on a G2G front. We bring in whenever our ministers visit other countries, we actually like to bring our Singapore companies with us to showcase their capabilities. And actually, a lot of these countries, especially in the region or in Middle East, they come to Singapore to study how we've developed as a city. And they are actually then also looking to build their own urban system, city solutions, whether it's transport and logistics. So that's a good opportunity for us to then pave the way, the door open to bring in a lot of our Singapore companies.
That's actually so interesting because I was always so mind blown whenever like, the French Prime Minister is here. And then what you guys discuss about, how many jets someone is going to buy. And then actually it's a lot of these conversations, right? Because there are a lot of local businesses.
Our local businesses are the suppliers to different parts parts of the ecosystem.
One of the Enterprise Singapore projects that we as a company involved in is Sprout at AMK. Which I thought the concept was pretty cool. Basically, it's a place they renovate and they're very chill. It's a new build.
In the heartland.
Yeah, in Ang Mo Kio. Hey, please go lah, okay? Please go.
Yes, please support.
There's a lot of shops where every shop, right, the prerequisite for every shop to have a place there is that they must be local and they must provide something that's different, something the market haven't seen yet. Even if it's a small twist or a big twist. Yeah, so I thought it was quite cool, like kind of forcing mom and pop shops or heartland entrepreneurs to just tweak
and actually it took us quite a while to get there. So actually it was a journey over 12 months. We actually had to have the business go through some training. We paired them up with mentors, with more established business owners to then sort of rethink what could that concept be that's never been done before. How do they pivot? So for example, we have a TCM, a traditional Chinese medicine company that's actually now using AI. So you kind of think you have a traditional remedies, traditional tonics, but they use then AI to then better understand and gauge consumers, look at the consumer insights, see what the consumers' needs are, and then be able to then pair them with the right tonics that they can
It's not then, it's an actual
It's not a person in the back. No, but in fact, like AI in medicine and in diagnosis is going to be a huge thing. It already is. So like this is so interesting that even like traditional Chinese medicine is looking into it.
And sourdough pao. That one is one of my...
and everyone knows sourdough is huge now. Taylor Swift, single-handedly keeping the sourdough market alive.
Before we let you go, perhaps can you kind of share with us, we always like to ask entrepreneurs this, right? Like where, and you as someone that work with hundreds of entrepreneurs perhaps, right? What's kind of one advice you give to a growth stage business or a business leader? Something never to forget.
So I think it's always good to have a growth mindset. So if you want to be a growth company, you need to have a growth mindset. And then with that, what's your vision? Back to your vision statement. And I think human capital is a large part of it. We didn't touch on it, but actually Singapore's biggest resource is our people. So human capital, human talent, I think that's a large part of it. How are you developing the talent? How are you supporting their careers, the jobs in the company so that they can then carry forth your vision? Because no man can run the business solely by himself. He actually needs a team, and just like you have your team here. If you work together for 10 years, you understand each other, you trust each other. So what are some, and you create a happy place, right? Like your vision was, how do you make people want to enjoy coming to work? So I think those are some very important formulas for any business to succeed, regardless of the sector or stage of growth.
So with that, I'd like to thank Enterprise Singapore for partnering us on this episode and to thank Jeannie for joining us today.
Thank you.
And for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you
so much.
So hopefully you guys now better understand Enterprise Singapore's role as a driving force behind local companies defining moments of growth and as a steadfast partner no matter where they are in their journey. There's a whole network of partners ready to guide businesses through their different needs, and for many, like us at our level, the SME Centre are the first touch point that helps us make that crucial first step. So thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Bye-bye.